With that out of the way, however, let's go right ahead and talk about the first segment, which is going to be about Giannis Antetokounmpo and the possibility of him getting traded. So, as I said before, it was incredibly shocking, but right now the Milwaukee Bucks are not off to a very good start. Like, they're actually off to one of the worst starts in the entirety of the Eastern Conference. And I fully blame Doc Rivers for all of this. Doc Rivers is one of the worst coaches in NBA history. And he, like, literally one of the worst coaches with the championship ring. I have no idea why on earth they decided to acquire him and replace him with replace Adrian Griffin for Doc Rivers. I have no idea why. Doc Rivers didn't even know why they were doing that, but he cannot coach a team to save his life. And neither can Darvin Ham, and they're both on the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're both coaching the Milwaukee Bucks, literally just making the team worse right before our very eyes. Now, it has not been going, aside from the first win of the season that they got, literally the first game that they played, every other game that they played ended up being a loss. They're starting out the season 1-4 because they played the Grizzlies the other night and they ended up losing in a blowout. I'm never picking the Bucks to win a game ever again. I'm never picking them to win a game ever again. I cannot trust this team. I cannot trust Doc Rivers. It's just I don't know why I was in hindsight I guess it was pretty ignorant, but at the time I really thought that Giannis and Dame would be able to pull out and pull through against the Grizzlies, but they didn't. So I'm never picking them to win a game ever again as long as Doc Rivers is their coach. And I just can't. I don't understand. Ever since Doc Rivers took over the job, his record is 20-27. Like, that is terrible. When you have Giannis Antetokounmpo in his prime and Damian Lillard at playing phenomenal basketball like he is, that is, he did not play well last night, but that is a serious problem. And since, like, it's just, I can't. I don't know. I really don't know. And it's gotten so bad for the Bucks that teams are circling and hopeful that they collapse and Giannis Antetokounmpo could get traded. A possibility that he's even teased multiple times over the years. And executives are thinking that the trade could happen in season with either the Miami Heat, the Brooklyn Nets, or the Oklahoma City Thunder, which would be an absolute cheat code if OKC ended up getting Giannis Antetokounmpo. That would be such a cheat code. And quote, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened by the trade deadline, said a top executive of a team that could be in the mix. Now, is it realistic? Is all of this possible, or is everyone just being optimistic and hopeful? Let's find out. So, obviously, a trade that sends Giannis to the Heat is like, it sounds incredibly hypothetical, and it sounds something that is made up, and it makes total sense why people are skeptical about it. Yet, there have been multiple blockbuster trades made over the years that seem too ridiculous to have actually happened. The most recent episode of It's Too Good to Be True saw the Knicks make a trade for all-star big man Karl Anthony Towns, who had been linked to them for years. New York also swung a miraculous trade for Mikal Bridges in a deal that seemed to bring It was almost as if they were generating a 2K roster. That's how ridiculous it was. No one really expected Mikal. I did not expect them to be able to get Karl Anthony Towns after landing Mikal Bridges and losing all of their draft picks. I did not expect that. And that being said, there is a distinct possibility that Giannis Antetokounmpo could be traded, and his own teammate Damian Lillard is just one of the few stars to have forced their way off a team. And as we know, and as I said before, if Giannis Antetokounmpo were to get traded, then Damian Lillard would literally just be back in square one, just in the Eastern Conference, which is definitely not the best. That's very, very unlucky. I mean, he gets a situation in Milwaukee where he thinks he's going to compete for a championship, and now all of a sudden Doc Rivers is your coach. That is just the ultimate. That's the ultimate death sentence in my opinion. Like I cannot stand Doc Rivers. I cannot stand Darvin Ham. I don't understand how they have head coaching jobs, but that is whatever. I could probably be a better coach than them. In my opinion, I think I could be a better coach than them, and I would definitely be able to lead the Bucks to at least 2 wins so far in this season. But that being said, there is a distinct possibility that Antetokounmpo could be traded, which is not good. Bradley Beal, he found himself with the Phoenix Suns after deciding not to be a part of the rebuild with the Wizards. Kevin Durant is only with the Suns because he no longer wanted to play on the Brooklyn Nets. And, prior to that, James Harden wound up with the 76ers after deciding the Nets weren't for him. At the same time, Ben Simmons was trying to escape Philly, landing in Brooklyn. So those were the crazy blockbuster moves and blockbuster trades that happened recently. And there's ample evidence that Antetokounmpo could end up doing the same. Forcing his way out. What's doubtful is that the Bucks would trade him to a contender. A 2-time MVP and former Defensive Player of the Year is still in his prime. And for a consensus top 10 player, in my opinion, top 2 player, anyone calling up Milwaukee better be prepared to offer up the king's ransom for this guy. That is a lot that you guys have to spend on just to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. And a team that the Bucks will want to defeat in the playoffs might have to give up more than that. So that's just the possibilities going in and what teams would most likely have to trade for, And what would a deal look like? So if Milwaukee was to strike a deal with, let's say, Miami, the headlining player would depend on the timing of the deal because Giannis Antetokounmpo signed a 3-year contract extension with the Bucks in 2023. His salary will see a sharp increase next season, and in addition to that, Milwaukee is above the second apron. So they can't really accept more salary than they send out in a trade or aggregates contracts. Next offseason, they're projected to be under the first apron, which eases money of a trade restrictions and they're currently subject to. The trade restrictions that they're currently subjected to. And if they were to strike a trade in season, it would have to be centered around Bam Adebayo or Tyler Hero because Jimmy Butler makes about $11,000 more than Antetokounmpo, placing him just out of their range in order to trade. However, if Butler is the apple of their eye, then they could wait until next offseason when he becomes a free agent and agree to sign and trade for the 35-year-old. Theoretically, an exchange would be simple in many ways given that both Antetokounmpo and Butler are two-way playmakers. So, now, about that trade package that I was talking about with Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero. Let me just go ahead and refresh this because, of course the Wi-Fi here wants to be absolutely phenomenal when I'm doing this. Anyways, hold on. Let's move it down. Oh my God. Okay. So a deal with Adebayo and Tyler Hero is obviously that's probably going to be the most likely package that they'll be able to get, and Bam is a perennial defensive player of the year, not exactly the defensive player of the year, but he's still pretty solid, and he's his story is similar to Antetokounmpo. Now of course Adebayo is more of a true big man than Giannis, and just an incredible and is incredibly mobile as well. He can defend the perimeter rather well while also being able to defend the big men just as well. Nonetheless, with Brook Lopez becoming a free agent next offseason, they could have a hole to fill in the center position anyway. And how long Rivers remains the Bucks head coach remains to be seen. However, his experience coaching Kevin Garnett with the Boston Celtics could benefit Bam Adebayo's growth. Maybe not. I don't think it's going to matter in the hindsight because Doc Rivers is just not a good coach. Hero saves the day with Chris Middleton's falling victim to the father time. Excuse me, I just could not read for a second. And since Middleton, he's going to be rather old. So adding somebody like Tyler Hero, a young player, is very, very good for the Milwaukee Bucks because I already said before that a big problem with their roster is age. And Middleton is most likely going to be under contract next season with $34 million, especially in a player option for 2025, 2026. Nonetheless, Hero would be a third or second option that Milwaukee could count on a bit more than Chris Middleton. And on top of that, his ability off ball should also complement Adebayo, but also Damian Lillard, who, if he decides to remain on Milwaukee. And if Adebayo becomes a pretty solid option, then who knows? Maybe Hero could also be that solid option. So that's the most realistic trade that could happen in season and the most realistic thing that could happen outside of this season. So that's all that I have in this segment. And now we're going to go ahead to go into the second segment where I talk about Paolo Banchero and his injury. So I'll be right back after this short break.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. Some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the